How are you today? Good morning, afternoon, evening, as the case may be, either whether you're live or whether you are on replay. What I would love if you would comment replay or comment live. People are in these groups in order to get access to the training. Therefore, help them be notified of the training by uh, by making those little notes. What I would love to have audience participation is if you are struggling with how you either use HighLevel or use whatever other tools you're using to implement a 9-point marketing plan. If you're not quite sure what your 9-point marketing plan is, if as I'm talking through these 9 points, it's not clear to you what the distinction between the different points are, jump on the either the Facebook or the Kollab comments. Give me the question, and I'll try to clarify. If we need to get you on the live Zoom, we can probably do that as well. But my intention is for the next 30 to 40 minutes or so, not talking in a lot of depth on any of the 9 points, to go through the 9 points in terms of how you use a tech stack to implement the strategy. The strategy is independent of the technology you use to implement it. I think one of the challenges that people are having, especially with HighLevel, is HighLevel does so much and it can do so much that they're getting absorbed in how to do the things in HighLevel, and they haven't actually decided what things they should be doing. So most of the time I focus on steps 1, 2, and 3 of the 9-point marketing plan, because that's really the overarching strategy. That is how you're trying to reach the right audience with the right message to get their attention. Steps 4, 5, and 6 is once you get their attention, how you turn that attention into a sale. 7, 8, and 9 are how you turn that sale into customer success that results in ongoing a going concern for your business. Your business being a going concern is the technically correct business term. Okay, so having said that as the intro, what we're doing today is we'll spend most of the time spend a lot of time talking about 1, 2, and 3, the audience, the offer, and the channels, because too often those of us who are trying to provide the service, we're so close to the service, we assume anyone who hears the message will know that we're talking to them and will be ready to buy. And so we start focusing on, well, I just need to have the right words on my landing page so that my funnel just is automatic. And very often it's not as obvious to the person we're talking to as it is to us. And so we need to spend more time thinking about the strategy. But for today, I'm going to dig deeper into the tactics of how you implement the strategy. So the assumption, as I talk about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, is that you've already thought through and written out your 1, 2, and 3. But if as you're listening to this, what I'm saying regarding the implementation doesn't make sense, and you need to come back and ask me a question about the strategizing, then let's have that conversation. Again, the point of these live sessions is to give you a framework to have a deeper conversation. And whether you do that in a staff meeting of yourself as a solo proprietor, as a freelancer, as a independent consultant, or whether you do that in a conversation with me or with a business coach that I might introduce you to, either one of those 3 ways of working through the process, what I'm giving you here in these live trainings on Mondays is here's the process. Here's the framework, so that when we have a conversation later, that conversation is in um, is in a context. And so when I start asking questions, we're on the same sheet of music as far as what those questions mean. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share this screen just because the visual aid helps frame the conversation so that you know and I know that we're talking about the same thing. All right. So the 9 points of a 9 point marketing plan are the audience, the message, where that audience is listening. One, target audience, target market segment is one. What the message for that audience is two. And a no-brainer offer is an offer that to anyone else sounds like mildly interesting, um, but to the perfect ideal client profile, to the actual niche target audience, it is a no-brainer. I would feel stupid to say no to that offer message. That is a no-brainer offer. When the anyone else is just interested, the ideal client, the target audience, the target market says, I need that, but these are the reasons I'm not going to do it. Okay? These when they start making those reasons that they're not going to do it, well, then you get to have a sales conversation about overcoming those objections. But they immediately know that it's the right thing for their situation. That's a that is a no-brainer offer as defined by Devin Tracy. Okay, so let's continue. I spend most of my time talking about those one, two, three, but let's talk about four, five, six, the sales cycle. I often quote, the riches are in the niches, but the fortune is in the follow-up. Lead capture, lead nurture, sales process or sales cycle or sales method are the the follow-up. Um, Target audience is who your message is for. Lead capture is how you identify particular individuals that fit within that target market. Lead nurture is how you have an ongoing engagement with them that goes from I know you to I like you to I trust you to I'm willing to let you help me solve my problem. Too often, when people are using a, D, a DM strategy in social media, they jump directly to the sale without building the relationship, without building the trust first. So what I said I'm going to focus on today is how you use the tech stack to implement lead capture, lead nurture, lead sales process, customer experience, lifetime value, and referrals. So if you're using an organic social media DM strategy, the lead capture might be as simple as being in the right Facebook group or the right LinkedIn group, identifying a person who posted and responding to their post that says something that is only tangentially related to your offer, but saying something complimentary to them, saying something helpful to help to reinforce or encourage that post that they made. And then following it up, if after they click like or respond with thank you for commenting, or thank you, or if you share it, thank you for sharing, then following it up with a DM that says, I'm glad to be part of your connection, part of your network. Now this is section step 4.4 of your marketing plan. This is that person is now inside your sales funnel. Now they might think you're inside their sales funnel as well, and that's often the case with me, is I'm often having conversations with people who They're trying to sell to me, and I'm offering this GHL business launch training program, um, which is a source of um, conversational disconnect because we have different objectives in the conversation. So part of the challenge, especially with a cold DM strategy, is understanding what the other person wants out of the conversation. In that case, maybe that's the lead nurture. So tell me about what's going on. What is your objectives? What are you trying to accomplish between now and the end of the year? What are your goals for 2026? Um, something not how's your dog kind of, unless that's literally what they posted. If they posted about their dog and you say, hey, you have a pretty puppy, that's totally reasonable. You have a lot of conversation, but at some point you're here on that social media platform to do business, and so you need to transition it to talking about something professional related. um, okay, so, and then the sales process is, oh, I see you have this goal. I have a solution to it. Do you have this problem with that goal? That's the lead nurture. Do you have, okay, that's your goal. What is your challenges you're facing to get to it? If you have enough rapport, if you have enough trust, they give you the real answer instead of a surface wave off answer. Can say, I have a solution to that, or I know someone who has a solution to that. Would you like an introduction, or would you like to have a conversation about how maybe I can help you resolve that particular issue? That becomes your sales process. And I talk through 4, 5, and 6 now in a purely organic social media strategy. If you're using HighLevel as your tech stack for that organic social media strategy, you may be able to have that engagement happen off of your business profile, and half or more of those exchanges back and forth are either automated or are AI generated as the person is engaging with your responses via your Facebook profile as opposed to your personal profile. Um, the more normal way that a lead capture, lead nurture sales would look using HighLevel as a tech stack would be with a funnel. And one of the points I try to make in this training system is a funnel is not a landing page. A landing page is an element of some funnels. Because everything I just described about an organic social media strategy is a sales funnel. When we talk about a funnel in terms of the platform, we mean the series of landing pages that sequentially lead that person through a purchase decision. Typically, you're not selling high ticket items on a landing page. What you can do is sell a tripwire product, a low dollar product, which is what I talked about last week, the difference between a lead magnet and a tripwire product. What you can do on a landing page is sell a tripwire product that gives the person a chance to buy a solution, just like a lead magnet is a solution to a specific problem that leads to exposing a larger problem. A tripwire product is the same kind of product, but has a price associated with it so that there's a financial transaction. The commitment isn't just, yes, I'm going to implement this lead magnet strategy, but I'm going to pay for the lead magnet strategy and implement it. So the landing page, here's my solution to a specific problem. And if the targeting is correct to who you're getting to that landing page, you might have a very short 4, 5, 6 sales process in this during. In time, it's 1, 2, 3. It happens quickly, but it leads to point 8, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But it leads to, in this case, it's designed to lead to the flagship product, which is not the tripwire. The flagship product is a more high ticket kind of item that requires a larger amount of trust, and thus the portion that's on the internet presence on a landing page is the tripwire product, but the flagship product is sold in a sales process that includes a face-to-face, either virtual Zoom or in person, drinking coffee together, kind of sales conversation, because that is a high ticket, typically coaching kind of program, consulting kind of program. Um, it is, if your product is I manufacture things, then the conversation you have with a person who's trying to find a manufacturer to build their product is, you don't sell those off of a landing page. Those are deeper, longer conversations that have to happen before that inventor, seller of a product is willing to hire you to be their manufacturer. Okay, so I talked about 4, 5, and 6 in terms of a purely organic social media strategy. I also talked about 4, 5, and 6 in terms of a landing page. You could also have um, a email nurturing sequence in a workflow or in an email campaign inside your platform that is your specifically your lead nurture. If you're going to if it's a purely cold email outreach system, then your lead capture system might be not an opt-in. There we go, because that is a valid approach to doing online marketing. You can have a non-opt-in lead capture system. Your lead capture system can be, I buy leads from this particular source with this targeting criteria. And that targeting criteria includes my list of my ideal client profile. Again, back to the strategy. For this technology, for this strategy to work, for this technique to work, the strategy has to be dialed in very, very well, because you're reaching out one to many cold. And so having sorted through your audience carefully enough with enough precision so that you're not sending that email to literally all 300 million people in the United States. 389 million or whatever the number is. Because what I can assure you is that 389 million people aren't your target market. They are not your ideal client profile. As much as you want everyone and anyone to buy your product, you're not the right fit for a very, very large portion of the audience, of the demographics of whatever country you live in. And the narrower, more refined you can niche down your target market, the more clearly you can articulate why your solution is the answer to the problem they have. Because everybody has problems, but everybody has different problems. And even when they have the same problem, they define it in different ways. And you need to be able to describe your solution in a way that aligns with their way of describing their problem. So if your lead capture system is, I buy leads from a data broker, then your offer, then to save yourself money and to also protect your sending reputation, you need to have that audience defined as carefully and as precisely as possible, so you have the minimum number of bounces and opt-outs and spam blocks. What you don't want is for people to start marking your email as spam and get your sending domain blacklisted. So when you're doing a cold email outreach method, Defining your market is very careful, so very important, so that you don't send it to people who clearly are going to be offended that you even bothered to send them an email. And two, you need your offer to be dialed in precisely enough that when they do see it, they recognize, even though I don't know who this person is, I recognize that they're describing my problem in a way that makes sense to me. Too many people are using any of the automated email sending systems. So for GHL business launch purposes, we talk about HighLevel, but it could be ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, Infusionsoft, Keep is what Infusion now called. It could be any of those platforms. Um, it doesn't matter which platform you're using. If you're sending it to the wrong audience and the message is wrong, all you're going to do is get your domain blacklisted. Instead, if you have a series of emails going to the right set of people that are your target audience with a message that feels like a no-brainer offer to them, they will continue to let you send them emails, even if they're not opted in. Even if they didn't opt in the first place, and even if initially their thought is, I'm just going to get this information, I'm not going to actually buy. Donald Miller, the author of Building a Story Brand, says the most important part of an email marketing campaign is they see your name in their inbox on a regular basis. They see a title, a subject line that aligns with their problem set that they're facing. So they associate your name with their problems. The likelihood that they're going to actually open most of your emails is fairly low. Once they do, that's where we have our triggers, our specifically our trigger links in our HighLevel account, where when they click on the link in the email, our system knows that they've transitioned from listening to what we have to say to engaging with what we have to say. That moves us from point 5 to point 6 in the 9-point marketing plan. That moves us into the sales process. And with the automation, what we can do is we've been sending them, we've had this on this nurturing sequence of emails talking about whatever it is we talk about for our Tripwire or lead magnet product. But the moment that they opt in, engage with, or click through on any of those words that we use, one of those emails, we want to immediately shift them into a different workflow that has a different type and tenor of tone in the emails. We shift from providing information about a subject to, would you like to move forward with this conversation and how we help you solve your particular problems? So I've described lead capture, lead nurture, sales process in terms of organic social media, in terms of email marketing, and in terms of a sales funnel. How the software helps with customer experience and lifetime value. I'm going to jump forward to referrals, point 9 first. So the challenge for many businesses is asking for referrals, asking for reviews typically doesn't generate the referrals and the reviews. And so we have to ask repeatedly without and measure and be careful in how we ask repeatedly, because we want to ask in a way that's respectful and polite. It's not okay. And isn't imposing on their goodwill. We want to reinforce their goodwill. We want to reinforce their trust. We don't want to be needy and capture greedy with their goodwill. There we go. Okay. So the point there is HighLevel has a reputation management module organic to the platform. And in the very near future, that will include a video testimonial. So you'll be able to send somebody a link that says, would you like to write a Google review? Would you like to write a review on some other platform? Specifically, especially if you're in the home services, you might want on Toolbelt, or um, Angie's List, Home Advisor, some of these other platforms that are specific to the home services industry. Um, or and then we have display widgets so that when those reviews do come in, we can immediately put them onto our website inside a frame without having to manually copy and paste and retype and take screenshots and manually make updates to our website. What's coming very soon is a video testimonial function where you can have another option where you say, would you like to upload a video of you describing your success with your results with my services? And again, that will plug into that display widget on the website without you taking any additional action. The tools allow us to not just get the review, send the message asking for the review on some kind of basis, whether it's a X number of days after they pay an invoice, after X number of sessions in our live studio, if we have a health a gym or health spa kind of thing, or in art studio. If you have a restaurant with a loyalty program and they claim a certain number of points, well, you're rewarding them by giving them discounts on their food, but that also gives you a way of measuring at some point this person is a loyal fan, is not just a loyal customer, but they're a fan of your product, of your food in the case of a restaurant. Now's when you send them a request for a review. Now's when you ask them to give a video testimonial, because you've identified someone who's seriously inside your fan club, not just someone who randomly had your food once. There you go. And so the ability to have tracking of levels of engagement, of loyalty, and there's a separate loyalty module coming along for HighLevel as well in the fairly near future. Allows you then to judge where this person is on the Net Promoter Scale and tailor the request for the review and the request for the referral relative to where they are in that journey. Is this someone who they bought something from me once, but that's the only time they've ever bought from me? Or is this somebody who is a long-term part of my raving fan club? Okay. So so back to then point 7 and 8. The most of the customer experience and lifetime value, when we talk about the 9-point marketing plan in terms of developing your strategy and writing your marketing plan, most of the time we talk about 7 and 8 in terms of the strategies. So similar to how I talk about 1, 2, 3. They're the strategy that turns into how we write on our website and in our emails and in our social media about and as we're asking ChatGPT to refine our messaging, it's driven by steps 1, 2, 3, and 7, 8. It's driven by what we want the process to look like. But we also have the implementation side where the tech stack can actually help us improve the customer experience and the lifetime value. So in terms of the lifetime value, the simplest example is that the sales funnel process I talked about earlier, where the landing page it leads someone to buy a tripwire or lead magnet product, and then we nurture that conversation to the high ticket, high dollar flagship product. that often looks like, okay, they've opted in, they bought the link, the tripwire. Now a series of emails that encourages them to use, first of all, so this is the customer experience. Okay, you downloaded my module, my training, my whatever that solves this particular problem. The first question is, did you even do it? So that's part of customer experience. The next problem is once you've implemented it, how did it work out? Did it solve your problem? And then the lifetime value is the opportunity to say, okay, let's let's see if we can now talk about the next part of the problem. If we solve this particular entry level problem, do you also have the larger problem? And thus it leads us to the opportunity to build more. Once we built the trust, have the chance to solve the bigger problem. Thus, it gives us the opportunity as the business to get a larger lifetime value from that particular customer. Or maybe the reverse is true. Maybe the initial product sale is a fairly substantial initial price, but there's an ongoing support that's a smaller subscription rate. And so the lifetime value is still significantly greater than the initial sales price because that lifetime value continues over time. Um, and in both cases, whether it's email, whether it's text messages, whether it's whatever the engagement methodology is, the reason the tech stack matters, in this case HighLevel, but it could be ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, uh, that email sequence that asks them the right questions and gives them the right information that's appropriate to the next step is essential. Um, as an example, and without naming names, there's a company whose product I endorse and whose product I've been talking about today, who shall remain nameless, but whose initials are GHL, um, who keeps sending me retargeting social media ads saying you should sign up for HighLevel. And they keep sending me emails saying, are you ready to sign up for HighLevel? Well, the issue is I've used several different emails to connect with HighLevel, the system, and I'm at multiple places in their database with those different email addresses. In this case, it's not off-putting because I understand what's happening, but it's actually a bad item 7 and item 8 customer, well, it's bad item 7 customer experience because if I didn't know what was happening and I didn't know what I had done to initiate to cause that to be the case, it would feel like the company didn't understand who their customer was. So one of the challenges when we're using these automated systems is we have somebody rolling back to the cold email version for a moment. So we have somebody that we put into our email nurturing sequence, and we're sending them this information about our business, our service, the problem that we solve. And if they do purchase from us, we start this other series of emails. But if we don't take them out of this sequence, they can very easily get re-engaged with messages that feel like we're trying to sell them the original product that we already sold them and cause them to question whether the trust that they had given to us is worthy, if we are worthy of the trust that they had given to us. Okay. I am seeing no comments. I am seeing no responses. I think that's not because, yeah, I think that is not because I'm disconnected. I think it's because no one is engaged directly, and that's okay. Um, I was not expecting a significantly huge engagement today. Um, but I've gone through all 9 points. I've talked about how you might work through this process with a purely organic social media process. You might do it with a sales funnel landing page, or you might do it using an email, even a cold outbound email. Um, all of those are valid methods, valid strategies, and the technology of HighLevel allows us to implement those more efficiently. I've also highlighted some of the risks that are associated. Okay, so I'm going to transition from talking about the topic to a little bit of admin notes. So we're coming up on Black Friday here in a couple weeks, and for the next couple of these sessions, I'm actually adjusting the time slightly because I'm going to do interview style for the next 2 weeks with a couple of associates who are in non-Western Hemisphere parts of the globe. And so, as a convenience to them, next week, I think next week is the session will be strike that, reverse it. Next week, it will be slightly late, more like early evening Eastern time. And the following week, the week after Thanksgiving, the first Monday in December, it will be a couple hours early, so more like noon Eastern time. That's purely as a courtesy to the guests, again, because most of the time we don't have people engaging live in the conversations. I think it's not going to be too much of a conflict for most of you who are the audience. Um, just giving you a heads up that that's the plan for the next couple of weeks. Then in December, I'm not quite sure what the focus will be for the rest of December. But then come January, we'll go back into the cycle of talking through the um, through the 9 business models with HighLevel, and then we'll probably also cycle back through the 9 points of a 9 point marketing plan. All right. Thank you very much. I hope you have a fantastic day, night, morning, evening, whatever the case may be, wherever you happen to be, whenever you happen to catch this video. Again, thank you, Melissa, for, oh my goodness, thank you for the hearts, for jumping in and saying hi. And we will let it go at that. No need to belabor the point any much longer. Yep, I don't see anything else. Any other comments on? Yep, bye, Melissa. Thank you for jumping in. Double check over here just really quick. Okay, sounds good. Bye, everybody.